We can start. Good evening, everybody. This is the November 16th session of the Planning Board. We only have one item on the agenda tonight, you guys, Bethany Arts. This is still a public hearing. And basically, I don't know if you have anything new you want to present to us. What I'm going to do is, on the 7th, I see you got your special permit from the zoning board. First, I guess I'll extend an opportunity for the architect to just run through anything that's new. I think the last open item really had to do with lighting and any explanation you might have about that. After that, we will go through the resolution from the zoning board and just continue from there.
Oh, yeah, can stand back here.
Well, nothing, I think all the items have been addressed. We didn't have any new items. Like you just mentioned, we were in front of the zoning board and we obtained our special permit. So she's kind of walk everybody through some of the changes from the original that we had, is that we reduced the impact. We have a smaller parking area. We have the area for the future parking spaces, and also we have the school bus loading zone here, which they will not park on the property. That was something we went over with the zoning board, which will be a drop-off zone. Landscaping, we modify it to, I think there was some comments as to modification that we've done, but I think we'll review those with you as well. With lighting,
S4.
The photometrics work out well. I mean, there's nothing.
What's the height of that light fixture?
It is 10 feet.
10 feet.
10-foot pole. There's the
I
option.
can't read on this side, but what's the Kelvin temperature of the light fixture?
The Kelvin temperature.
Is it like 3,000, 5,000, 4,000, 3,500, 27?
I think it's 4,000.
And what's the one, that's the lowest one?
It's 4,000 and 5,000. And what we done is we situated the poles in a way so it won't be shining directly onto the neighbors. And either way, we have the
And those are on,
timers.
they're on timers. But what happens, they're on timers, so they go off at 10 o'clock at night or something like that?
Right, and we also discussed the option of having them on sensor. So
But
this
if they're on a
particular
sensor,
light-
and a car comes on, or comes into the driveway, they'll obviously turn on. If someone walks out of the building, they'll turn on and off. Which I don't have a problem with. I just want to make sure it's safe for the people coming in or out or something like that. What I would prefer is for all the residents that live on the, for lack of better term, let's say the north or south side of the building, and it could be east or west, but it's usually two sides, that they're not on all night long shining in their houses.
That's what we selected, when we spoke with the client and we selected a specific light because it gave us all those options. This light has it has the sensor and it also has the timer. So
It would have been great if that light fixture had something that would be closer to 2,700 or 3,000 temperature-wise, which is more of a yellow light. The higher you go in temperature, it becomes more of a blue, more bright and things like that, but if you could just ask the manufacturer of that
Yes.
fixture if they can deviate from that and make it a lower temperature.
I don't think that-
If I could interject as well, it's a second advantage to that. And I don't know the cutoff numbers, but I know the lower Kelvin temperatures have less negative impact on migrating birds at night. I don't know where those thresholds are, but I know that's something that large facilities are paying attention to now. So if you could ask the lighting company, they
Yeah,
may
that's-
know.
Because LED lights, they range from 27 all the way up to approximately 6 or 7,000.
Right, that's what we're
And
looking for.
that's when it gets towards the blue light, which is a little
We cannot
annoying.
select something in the lower spectrum, just in the 40,000, but
Okay.
if we can go lower, I'm sure that
Yeah.
we
We
If
might
we
be
have
able
that
to-
option, we'll
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely try and take it.
We might be able to get some information from the town EAC. John is here representing John Ladd, the EAC, and someone possibly in Mitzi or someone else may know what those,
Well, I can look it up. too.
or you can look it up. Okay, great. We'll get you some
I'll Google it.
information. Yeah, good.
And I think that's, I mean, all the other items,
That's the only problem, question I had on that.
Okay. I guess you all did not get to see this memo. Well, it's actually a resolution from the ZBA. I'll peruse it very quickly, whatever. I can go through this. I don't have to read word for word because the first few pages are really just boilerplate and kind of document the process up to this point, but it really doesn't issue any kind of decisions or anything like that. Okay, this was initially submitted to the ZBA some months ago for special use permit. And back in the summer, it was referred to the planning board to basically declare a negative deck and vote on that, to send it back to the ZBA so they could do their thing and act on approval or a denial of the special use permit, which I see you got at the meeting of November 7th, 2 weeks ago, not quite 2 weeks ago. And we kind of have the summary here in text tonight. So the second page, first page basically just identifies the site, indicates certain dates, what drawings and documentation was submitted. The second page basically gives a description of the facility, which we're kind of all familiar with, we've all been through. I don't know if the board or anybody here would like me to read through that, I can. But it's kind of just your statement of purpose. That's been presented and discussed a lot of times. If anybody here on the board would like me to read it, I will, but I don't think we really have to, we're familiar with it. Third page is kind of a continuation of that, where the upper 2/3 of the sheet talks about the specifics of what you're going to do physically, the parking lot, landscaping, what you're going to do inside the building and everything else, again, which has been discussed and presented to us before. Bottom points out that the planning board was declared the lead agency under SEQA. There have been a few revisions along the way which have been discussed, presented by your team, and explained, so we're kind of aware of those things. And on the fourth page, it gets to basically now, therefore, it's kind of the resolution or what it resolved by the ZBA, and I'll read that part. Be it resolved, after July, considering all the proofs and evidence before this board finds as follows, the board being the ZBA. Number one, upon compliance with the conditions set forth herein, the proposed application and use will not have any negative impacts on the public health, safety, and welfare, and the comfort and convenience of the public in general, and of the residents of the immediate neighborhood in particular. This is a positive use for the community and is anticipated to improve existing conditions. Number two, upon compliance with the conditions set forth herein, the proposed use shall be of such location, size, and character that in general it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the R40 zoning district and will not be detrimental to the orderly development of adjacent property in accordance with the zoning classification of such properties. Number three, upon compliance with the conditions set forth herein, the location and size of such use, the nature and intensity of operations, involved in or conducted in connection herewith, its site layout and its relation to access streets shall be such that both pedestrian and vehicular traffic to and from the youth and the assembly of persons in connection therewith will not be hazardous or inconvenient to or incongruous with the said residential district or conflict with the normal traffic of the neighborhood. Number 4, upon compliance with the conditions set forth herein, the location and height of buildings, the location, nature, and height of walls and fences, and the nature and extent of landscaping on the site shall be such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of the adjacent land and buildings. Be it further resolved, the applicant is granted a special permit to operate the proposed use, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the special permit is granted solely in connection with the proposed use in the approved plans. In the event the applicant seeks to modify the use of the plans from what was presented to the ZBA and approved herein, other than changes to the approved plans that are deemed by the building inspector to be minor field changes, the applicant must return to the ZBA for an amended special permit. Number 2, the granting of this application shall not be deemed to relieve the applicant of the need to obtain approval of any other board or agency or officer prescribed by law or ordinance with regard to the plans of, or construction of any other phase of the project. Number 3, the granting of this application shall not be deemed to relieve the applicant of the need to fully comply with all of the requirements of all applicable building and fire codes as amended from time to time, and particularly those requirements related to occupancy, which compliance shall be confirmed by the building inspector. Number 4, no portion of the property may be occupied without a valid certificate of occupancy. Number 5, in the event of transfer of ownership of the property or operation of the facility, the special permit shall automatically become null and void. Number 6, the applicant shall comply with any and all conditions, requirements, and/or recommendations set forth in the responses from Westchester County Department of Planning dated May 31, 2016, and the New York State Department of Transportation dated June 17, 2016. The applicant shall substantially comply. Number 7, the applicant shall substantially comply with the representations it made to the ZBA as to the types of uses and intensity of those uses on the property as set forth herein. Number 8, the special permit shall expire in 3 years unless before that time the applicant makes an application to the ZBA to have the special permit renewed. Based upon the information the ZBA receives when considering the renewal application, the ZBA may, in its discretion, add to, remove, and/or alter the conditions of this approval. The ZBA anticipates that after this initial 3-year period, the applicant will then have to get the special permit renewed 5 years after the date of the renewed special permit and every 8 years after that. However, the ZBA reserves the right to modify this renewal schedule based on the information presented to it during the renewal applications by the applicant and public and/or its consultants and representatives. Number 9, failure to comply with any of these conditions of the approval shall be grounds for revocation of this special permit. This is dated November 7, 2016. Kathy, do you have any comments about this?
Well, you had mentioned about parking school buses. Is that something that would be a condition that you would consent to in connection with the site plan approval? A condition that restricts the parking or prohibits the parking of school buses consistent with what the ZBA also determined?
Okay. Before I ask the board, is there anybody here in the public who has any comments or anything you'd like to say? Okay. Anybody on the board have any comments?
I know I walked through the space and it feels like a year, but it hasn't been that long. Is the space sprinklered? I don't remember.
Yes.
It is? Okay. Just when I'm seeing children and 20 people or whatever it is, I just want to make sure there's safety and everything like that. That's all I have.
Nothing really, only that I'd like to re-express my support for the project. I think it's really great for the community.
Sam, do you have any comments?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. I'd like to consider that we close the public hearing, because that's still been open. I think what's probably gonna happen is David Stolman, you know, our planning consultant, and we're just receiving this tonight. We may possibly authorize him to prepare a resolution. Okay, he's not here tonight, and so initially, we're gonna close the public hearing. We'll get that out of the way. There's been ample time for the public to come forward with comments, and you have a great project. You've answered most of the comments that we have had, and we've seen a reason to really continue the public hearing. So with that said, I would like to propose that we close the public hearing. Do I have somebody to give me a first on that?
I'll first it.
I'll second
And you'll
that.
second it?
I'll
Yeah.
first it.
Okay, and I as well go along with that, so the public hearing is officially closed. Since the next meeting is a work session, we can't vote at that. So I'm going to make a motion that we authorize our planning consultant to prepare a resolution incorporating all the comments that have been made up to now, all the data that's been submitted, and obviously referring to the ZBA resolution. So he's been here, he's aware of everything that's been said, so he can prepare a resolution which we can review and discuss at the work session. And depending on that, hopefully we can maybe have a vote at the next public hearing, which is going to be the second meeting in December. I'm not exactly sure when that is.
21st?
21st.
December
They just might have to maybe correct the date from May 31st. They wrote,
Mary?
Mary. Yes.
Yep.
And I guess that's for the ZBA, right?
We must get back to the religious
We can fix that.
history of the building.
Yes.
So, with that, I would like to suggest that we authorize Dave Stolman to prepare a resolution. And I guess we should vote on that. So, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, yeah.
I'll second that motion.
I'll go along with the same thing. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy witness party.
It's gonna be a nice short night for everybody.
Yeah.
This evening, she asked me to put together the compound and going to the meeting. We will do that for the approval, which we have seen today.
How's your project?
Good night, thank you.
Were there minutes that I missed?
No, I'm sorry, we are a little behind on, I am a little behind. So they are still
Work
to come.
session. Is Joanne Snyder here? Is she gonna- What's the deal with that? You told me, okay?
Well, we put them on the agenda.
Hi. What's the deal then?
A motion to go into executive session to discuss procedure. Anyone consider having a motion to go into executive session to discuss
Really,
procedure?
I'd say that. Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is George Catlett. I'm an attorney from Bryan, New York. I represent Joe Schneider. I understand that she has an application for exemption on the right for relief from a $7,500 recreational fee as far as a minor subdivision. Is that on?
Have you submitted something in writing?
I have not submitted anything. Ms. Schneider has, though. That's what I understand.
Is this something you have, Sandy?
There was just a handwritten note that I sent everybody.
Yeah, my understanding is there's no application pending in front of the planning board. So the planning board doesn't have a public open session where people can just speak about various issues.
Yes, I understand that.
It could only consider a specific application. So I don't understand what the application is before the planning board. Is the application
No, you're not
to-
saying anything. I will say it.
Is the application to extend the previously issued approval to ask for a 90-day extension? That would be one application that this board considers.
Yes.
Is the application asking to modify or
Yes.
reconsider? So that's another application. None of those applications have been filed before this board. So you need to pursue the regular course
Yes.
to file an application before this board. Whether this board tonight wants to consider this a preliminary discussion prior to the filing of the application, but currently there is no application before this board.
Yes. I understand the proper procedure, and there should be something in writing before the board, which I apologize for. This is rather ad hoc. It's my understanding that there was some tacit agreement that this could be heard. I would like to have an informal discussion and just have a few minutes of the board time to explain what our proposal is. And if the board will allow me to do that, I would be very grateful.
We can allow that if it's relatively brief, and we certainly can't do any kind of action.
I understand that. We'll make a formal application, right to the board, using the proper mechanism to have standing to appear. Simply put, Ms. Schneider has a subdivision approval that was approved back in September of this year. And she has until January to submit the proper filing of the plat with the town clerk. She's been assessed a recreational fee of $7,500. Previously, she has given the town a shoreline easement of 5,000 square feet. Since it's only a minor subdivision, we would like some relief from the recreation fee assessed to major subdivision of $7,500. Due to that, she only owns less than an acre of land, and that she has given the shoreline easement. And we would like some equitable relief here from the $7,500, which she can't afford. And that's basically what we're seeking.
I'd like to ask our attorney. This probably is not cut and dry in terms of the town, in terms of the background of the sewer easement that went in, and then were there deals made with individual homeowners? Is there any documentation about that? And also, what statutes are there? Are there any state, local, whatever?
So just to put it in perspective, this board made a determination, and the time to challenge that determination has expired. This board, as part of its resolution, required the applicant to pay a recreational fee. So if the applicant is asking that the board reopen and reconsider, then that should be what we're asking this board to do. But right now, there's no application currently before this board. My understanding of the sewer line, and I don't have the details on it as I'm not the person that looked into it, but I certainly will once a formal application is made so I could present all the facts to the board and the board can consider that, is that it was a mutually beneficial sewer easement that the applicant needed to create the second lot, for which there wasn't a sewer easement granted, they wouldn't have been able to create the second lot. So it was a mutually beneficial easement, and it wasn't a taking of property, it was an easement granted to run a sewer line. So, again, I'll have to find the specific details on it. That's my understanding right now of what occurred to date.
Yes, that'd be very gracious. And we have some support that for cluster housing and for affordable housing, the recreational fee has been lowered at $2,500 in certain circumstances. And that's been universal, I believe, with cluster housing and affordable housing, as I understand it. And,
Well, that's certainly something you can raise with
Yes.
this board, but this board has no obligation, so you understand.
We understand that.
To reconsider its prior determination that's never been challenged in a timely manner. So
Yes.
this is solely discretionary and up to the board, and they don't even have to reconsider it.
Yes, we understand that, and we'd be grateful for any consideration after filing the proper petition with the
And you'll
planning
have to
board.
notice it too. I mean, if they're
Yes.
seeking some kind of relief, they have to go through the proper notice channels, right? Because this is a different application. There is no application
Yes.
currently, and to put it on a public hearing so that others interested may come out and hear your position and weigh in on it.
Yes. So we had the board's permission to make the filing and to ask for this relief. And they would consider
Yeah,
it.
you don't need our permission to do the application. You can do that. and
Yes.
Then it's considered after that. Yeah.
All right, good.
I have a question, just so I could shed some light. James Picciano, on Hawks Avenue, also with Joanne. Greg, you know me, the board members that do not, I've been at just about every board meeting that's going on in this town, everything from the condos when they were being built, the overfilling of the cemetery, right on down Sheep Farm, Kruger Estate, when they wanted to put a shopping center there. But anyway, I've been to a lot of the meetings. When Jimmy Zappi, and Greg, you know this, Jimmy Zappi with the cluster housing on the corner of Hawks Avenue and Kitchewan Road, when he was stuck for putting those cluster housing in, which is a great windfall for the town, because, let's face it, put 16 houses in R15 area, you get 16 houses in instead of 4, well, all of a sudden there's a nice tax base there. Unfortunately, through litigation and court hearings, he's tied up, he's only put six of those 16 in. He was stuck. I was at the meeting, I was right here. I brought Jimmy outside. I said, Jimmy, I said, I'll tell you what. I said, Martha Dodge has been talking about getting rid of the pumping station, which was around the corner on Crotondale Road. I said, you're stuck with the state. Let's see where Martha Dodge is with the pumping station and what she's really looking to get. He said, well, she wants me to pick it up, but I can't get out into the state road because it's the bureaucracy. So I said, all right. So I spoke to Martha Dodge, told her I spoke to Jim Zappi. Martha Dodge then sent a letter out to us. I have the letter here, I can read it to you. It states that we would like to pick up the pumping station on Crotondale Road because it is very costly to the town. And if the neighbors could get together and grant us the easement, it would be a considerable savings in the town of Ossining to have that easement and put that sewer in. So it's a two-part equation. It's we provide the land, Jimmy Zappi provides the construction to put the sewer line in. It all came together, it worked out great. Sewer line went in, we gave the land. At the time, we were looking at subdividing our property, and we looked at it and we said, okay, is this a major or minor subdivision, number one? And number two, when you look at the fees, there's wording on there that talks about in lieu of. These major subdivisions, like the one on Chapel Car Road, he put in a ball field, and that was in lieu of the fees. It's not that we put a park bench down the bottom of our driveway and said, let's sit and wait for the school buses. So we felt in lieu of, we gave this land, it helped them, it helped us. Fast forward, a few years later, I get a call from George Weeks. Jim, I got a problem. So what's the matter, George? George, as you know, was the chairman of the planning board. I knew George for years. He said, we got a problem. I said, why? He said, I want to pick up the pumping station on Stormy Town Road. You guys on Hawks Avenue were a tremendous help. I need your help again. I said, what do you need, George? He says, you're vice president of the board, Torview Swim Club. I said, yes. He says, we need a piece of Torview land. He said, it's an owner-owned swim club. We used to blow there one time, Sam. And it takes a total vote of the membership to allow this. He said, George, I'll get them together, I'll see what I can do. I got them together, we got you guys that piece of land. So it's not like if you ask us to do, we don't do. So I think what George is stating here in lieu of these fees, there's got to be some leeway. The only two that are affected, by the way, by this sewer easement that was given is Joanne and I, mainly because Ray Coletti did his subdivision before the sewers even went in. We didn't have to, especially me, didn't have to have that sewer because Ray did it on 2 septic systems. So that piece of land is parsed. Russo Lane is in, so that's not involved, and he had his sewer anyway, he had to put it in down there. Next door to us was Olmsted, which is now owned by Pozella, he's got the sewer. And around the corner, and next to him would be Joanne and then Gordon. Gordon doesn't have enough land to do a subdivision. So this, in lieu of plea, is really only involves Joanne and I. Right now, I'm in no rush to subdivide. I like my privacy on my 2 acres, and you know, I did the preliminary, went through the ZBA, got approved by the ZBA, but I'm kind of holding off a little bit. Joanne is in a different situation, and she asked if I would come here and support her, which I've always done. And I've done that for not only for other people out, you know, in the town, but I've also done it for you guys.
And just so you know, the other neighbors we had did not want to give land to have the pump station
Right.
closed down.
I went knocking on doors.
We knocked on doors, we had meetings in our home, and we worked with Martha Dodge to get that for the town.
So anyway, that being said, and you know, and I appreciate the fact when I came in here, everybody looked at me, oh no, what's going on? I said, well, if you just give us a few minutes, that's all we need.
And I
said,
appreciate
we don't bite, we appreciate that.
Well, if I
And-
could suggest that you make a formal application
Right.
and request specifically exactly what you need, and just airing grievances is not going to be sufficient. You have to specifically apply to the planning board and request whatever
I didn't
relief.
get that one part. Aaron, what?
Grievances, you have to, you know, they just can't sit here and listen to concerns.
No,
They may
that's-
be valid
No, you're not,
concerns.
excuse me, you're not following me. The reason why,
I believe-
excuse me,
I-
Gordon,
no,
the reason why I
no,
brought this up, the board
no,
asked me.
no, be
And the
quiet.
reason why, no, I'm not gonna be quiet. I've been in this town for 40 years and been to a lot of meetings. I am not here to.
You're not
air-
representing anyone here tonight,
I
okay?
am not here to air a grievance. I'm just here to give the history of what went on. That's all I'm here for.
Okay,
That's why, to help out.
So what I'm asking is that if there's specific issues that relate to your property that are relevant for this board's consideration about whatever you're asking them to reconsider, that you include them in the application that you
Right.
make to the board.
Okay.
That's specific to your property, so that they have an understanding of it, that's all I'm saying.
No, it's just to bring up to speed was my only spiel here. that-
Gentlemen, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Council, thank you for your time as well and your advice, and we will file the appropriate application.
As soon as you get that, get it in, we can,
Yes, that,
Maybe twice a month.
we're very grateful for your time.
Yeah, I am glad that you had
Thanks.
me, thank you very much.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hired, I do the talking, you don't.
Okay. I don't know how long it'll take to get that together. So, that's it for what's on the agenda. You mentioned the minutes, we'll discuss at the work session, I
Do
guess.
you want to go into executive session, just to talk procedure? Or-
Probably a good idea. Good point. We're gonna go into executive session now,
We'll end the meeting.
since our main agenda items are over.